hold up. It's that boy G Plans. Don't give a damn. He cooler than a fan. Walking real tall, some say he's a man.
You cannot go to school dances. Like, I never had that. You know what I mean? I had parents that were like, we believe in God. We expect you to love God. We expect you to love Jesus. You know, we expect you to be kind to people. We expect you to love people. You know, and if for some reason we could not do something, it was because of like a behavioral decision or an inclination that my mom had. It was never because we were Christian or pastor's kids that we could not do something. We could not live our lives as teenagers. So I never had that.
But it's great because, you know, the stereotype thing is all the preacher's kids or the worst kids and stuff like that. I know you heard that a lot.
I hate it. That's like I hate that. Like, after someone says that to me, I pretty much stop listening.
Yeah. So I want to take a hit, you know, the cosign. It's your podcast. Can you tell the viewers, like, how did it come about, who's involved, stuff like that?
It was so within KaykiSpeaks.com, which was the blog that I started earlier, that we spoke about earlier, and it basically took off after the whole like MTV thing. The blog was not even supposed to do anything. I never started it to do anything with it. I started it to just start it, you know. I never started it to be a name or famous or.
Yeah, I was going to ask you like how did the cosign, like how did you?
Yeah, so within KaykiSpeaks.com, which is the blog, once I got my focus on just positive world news and entertainment obviously is a piece of that, and being that I am musically inclined, I just love talking about musicians, singers. Most of them tend to be celebrities, and what ended up happening was I started to realize that a lot of my friends, family members, love to ask me either what I was listening to, who is, you know, the hardest new rapper, or who is the hottest new artist that they should be tuning into. And it became kind of a part of my life. Like, anytime I got together with any of my friends or family members, and even within my siblings, like in our home, we sit around and put each other on and stuff all of the time. Like, check out this artist I found on YouTube, or, you know, I just realized that Ashford and Simpson wrote this song. You know what I mean? Like, it's our thing. And so the cosign within itself was born way before the podcast came or the show came. The cosign within itself was just a part of my life. It was just like people hit me up like, hey, I'm on iTunes, like, who should I download right now? And I'm like, oh, get that new Brandy album. You know what I mean? Or, you know, get that new, I don't know, Natalie Ambrosius album, or get that, whatever I was listening to at that moment, I would co-sign that. And so I translated it to KaykiSpeaks.com as just the co-sign hashtag.
That's dope.
And what that ended up being was me being able to take people or songs or moments or restaurants. I've co-signed a couple of restaurants here in Atlanta, you know, that I loved, and told my readers, like, hey, if you're in Atlanta, check this out. You know, if you need a new song to listen to, check this out. And that's where it technically was born. You know, when I decided to kind of step away from the actual like blogging in a sense of writing paragraph after paragraph after paragraph, instead more so into a visual or audio platform, I took the cosign out of all of the different things I was doing on my blog as something that I could really focus on, because that's really what I had become. Not just with you know, the final product of music, but I would have people hit me up saying, hey, I'm in Atlanta, I need a makeup artist, who can I talk to? Or I'm in Atlanta, I need a producer. Or, hey Kayki, I'm working on my project, who would you recommend? You know, and so I'm like, that, like, I could actually take this part of the blog, and it would be a great connection to the people who are already reading the blog to bring them to the visual. And then I also felt like I just knew so many talented people who did not have the platform to sit and be interviewed or sit and perform on this level. And it doesn't mean that they're not as talented as people who are mainstream. It just means that media doesn't necessarily focus on those people. They focus on the people who've already made it. Yeah. And I felt like the cosign could be that platform for them to do their interviews. And, you know, so the visual, we did a couple of episodes. And to be quite frank with you, it just cost me too much money. It's not that I could not afford it. I just did not want to pay for it. Mm-hmm. And that's a whole other conversation within itself. But so I've switched over to the podcast, which we are about to start season 2 of, and it's basically me sitting down with creatives who I love. I genuinely love these people, what they do, their art, and telling my listeners and my viewers, hey, I co-signed this. Check it out. You know, so that's where it comes from, and that's what the cosign is.
But I want you to give the rundown for the people who are listening, watching it. Like, who are some of the people that you've interviewed throughout your whole career?
Oh,
if
man.
It was leading up to the cosign. Just give them a rundown.
Okay. Yes. Oh, this is hard. Y'all, so let me just put this disclaimer out here. If you know me, you know I have a terrible memory. So without something in front of me, I'm bound to forget someone. But some of the people that I've interviewed that have stuck out to me that I love, I've interviewed Chili from TLC, who's probably one of my favorites just because I grew up listening to TLC. Mm-hmm. And when you're a child, celebrities are like such a thing for you. And Chili, you know, she brought so much nostalgia into my life. You know what I mean? I've interviewed Janae Aiko. I've interviewed Verse Simmons. I've interviewed Diggy Simmons, who is Reverend's son. I've interviewed Shantae Can, who is an incredible artist here. Willie Hen, who's an incredible artist here in Georgia. I've interviewed, Day 26. I've interviewed,
Wow.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of just so many people. I mean, it's been so long. I've interviewed.
Didn't you have Slim 112?
Yeah, I've interviewed, and then it's blurry because YG. I've interviewed. Oh God. It's just so many people who, honestly, because my platform is not necessarily focused on big names, it's hard for me to pull out names that you guys would know. But I've interviewed Mila Music. I've interviewed Whitney Rain, who was just on the 4. I've interviewed Michelle Williams from Destiny's Child. I've interviewed Jade Nova, who is an artist who I love and adore. I've interviewed so many people, even people you guys don't yet know because the podcasts haven't been released. But most of the people that I focus on are not necessarily mainstream artists, because that's not what the cosign is about. Like, I'm not interested in vouching for people who are already on. I'm interested in saying, this is the person that your radio station is not going to play, and they're better than everybody that your radio station is playing. You know what I mean? Or this is the person who, you know, you're not going to walk into an art museum and see their work displayed, but their artwork is better than, in my opinion, you know, what you're seeing. So
I want to touch bases on this. You gave a rundown. You mentioned the MTV experience. Mm-hmm. How was that experience? How did that come about? We didn't talk about that, and I wanted to touch bases on that.
So this is a story I love telling because I feel like people would never believe that it happened this way, but I promise you this is exactly how it happened. I was working the same job that I was working when I said I started the blog. I had probably been blogging for like 6 months at that point. And I got fired from that job on a Monday morning. And I actually got up, got dressed, went into work, got fired. The reason I don't want to say fired is really bad, but basically the job belonged to somebody else. I was a temporary fill-in for it, and when she decided to come back, they gave her the job back. I got home before I went home from being let go from that job, I went around to a couple of places. I was already like suited and booted. It was a Monday morning. So I went around to a couple of places to fill out other applications just because I was already out and about. But when I got home, I remember laying out on my couch in my first ever apartment that was actually mine. And just laying there like, what the heck am I gonna do? You know? So I pick up my phone, I'm going through my email on my phone. And one of the emails I saw in my inbox was from Lauren at MTV. And I had a habit, I still do, of going through my email and just deleting things that are either spam or something I'm just not gonna read. And then I'll delete all this stuff and then I'll go to my delete box and just trash it all together. So I see this email from MTV, I don't even think about it, I just delete. But when I went to my trash folder to actually permanently delete some of this stuff, I felt like the Holy Spirit was saying, do not delete that email from MTV. Like, girl, what are you doing? You know what I mean? And so I didn't delete it. So it kind of sat there. I stared at it. I opened it and it was very simple. It's like, hi, I'm Lauren. I work for casting at MTV. We've been following your blog for a couple of months. We would like to have you participate in this opportunity that we have. And now I'm even further thinking it's spam, you know, because what are the chances? I just started this blog. Like, I can tell you countless other bloggers that deserve this type of attention. Excuse me. So I didn't really respond to it initially. I think maybe the whole day went by.
Of course.
I didn't want to believe it till the end of the day came and I responded to the email and I'm like, hey, what is this about? And she's like, I promise you I'm for real. I know it probably seems strange, but you can check me out. I'm on Facebook, blah, blah, blah. And so I went to her Facebook page. I added her she had requested me as a friend. I added her. And by this time, I was social media savvy enough to know a spam account from a real account. I can't describe it to you any other way. But I knew that she was legit from her Facebook interactions and following and all of that. So I responded to her email. I got a little more information about what she was doing, and that led up to eventually conference calls and signing contracts and things like that. But basically MTV had been following my account on Twitter and my blog for a period of time, along with I think it was 9 other people initially who they had kind of scouted out. And what they were looking for was the first ever MTV TJ. So when I was growing up, there was like MTV TRL, which was like the shows, even 106 and Park, that kind of like focused us to the visuals for music, like music videos.
TRL back too.
TRL is back, yes.
Shout out to DC Young Fly.
Yes. So what MTV TJ was trying to do was create, instead of a video jockey, which is the equivalent of maybe a Carson Daly or a Free and an AJ, they were trying to create that within the social media world. So they were trying to find a Twitter jockey, TJ, for their platform. So the MTV TJ competition was basically searching for someone to do that job, and ended up going to Gabby Wilson, who is an incredible model in the industry, as well as a blogger. She was at the time, at least. But the process allowed for me to meet some incredibly talented people, not just in the people who competed with me, but the people at MTV. It allowed for me to kind of get a behind the scenes look at how some of these television productions are done. It allowed for me to go to my first ever like real filming, which was the finale for the TJ competition, which was in New York City. It stretched me out in a lot of ways, but the biggest thing it did for me was MTV basically promoted our platforms not only on their website, but on television, and also in Times Square for a whole summer.
Wow.
So what participating in that experience actually did for me more than anything, even though I didn't win it, was it pointed a lot of readership to my blog, to the point where what initially didn't feel like something I had to do ended up feeling like something I had to do because I had all these readers come in. And that's kind of what pushed me to keep going.
Wow, that's great. And you had that, and you mentioned HGTV too?
So I was,
How did that go?
House Hunters happened 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. I was in the process of buying my first home, and ended up having the opportunity to be on House Hunters with that search. And I felt like, why not? Because who else has the opportunity to document that first house buying experience, all the highs and the lows and the the excitement of buying your own home. My first home was a gift to myself for my 30th birthday. I didn't want anybody to be a part of it. I didn't want my parents to help me or anything. It was something I wanted to do on my own. So being able to do House Hunters was a blessing for me, because it kind of helped me to kind of capture it. So versus looking back and feeling like, man, that went by fast. That was a very fast transaction. I can actually watch it, and see how it went down. So yeah, that was the whole House Hunters experience.
Wow, you got your blog going crazy. You got your podcast season 2 on the way. You was on TV. And the fact that you got this aura, and it's the humble aura. You can easily say, hey, all right, I know this person, I know this person, I know this person, whatever the case may be. You still remain all right, I'm Kayki, I'm cool. Everything's right. I'm not this, I'm not that. I'm okay, and you keep God first. But after experiencing all that stuff, what's your outlook on everything now? Because initially when you get into the game or whatever, it's all right, this and that. Now, it's man, has it changed? I have to look at everything different now.
The one thing I'm most proud of the Kayki Speaks platform, which incorporates the blog, then the visual show, and now the podcast, is that I have not changed what my platform stands for. And there was a time in my career where I did social media management and consulting for small businesses, artists, even had a label that I worked with. And the one thing that I pushed to them was just understanding what the heck you want to represent in the world. You know what I mean? Because there's an opportunity for you to pretty much be whatever you want to be, especially with the internet. And I realized early that I wanted my platform to be a true reflection of who I am as a person, which is a positive person, which is an optimistic person, which is a creative person. I'm not a messy person. I'm not going to sit and gossip with you about anybody. And in addition to that, I also felt like there were people in the world who wanted entertainment news. They wanted to know about their favorite celebrity, but they didn't want the negative of it. They didn't want the gossip of it, And so that's what I built the platform on. And I'm thankful that that's what I've been able to maintain, regardless of the actual mean or medium that we used for the platform, regardless if it was a written blog or a visual or audio, whatever it was. When you see Kayki Speaks, oh, this is a positive entertainment platform. So that part hasn't changed. There were times during the blogging years that I may have had information about celebrities, not only from just meeting people here in Atlanta, but actually writing songs and doing a lot of studio work. At one point, you get to kind of bump heads or meet people and experience different things. And there were lots of times that I had stories first, or I had stories that had not broken yet. I remember one particular person being pregnant. I knew she was pregnant. It wasn't reported yet, but I knew. I didn't break it. You know what I mean? There are relationships coming together, breaking up that I knew about that I never said anything about. There's still to this day, loads of dirt that I have on certain people that I've not even shared with close friends. And for me, it's not even a question. It's just, this is what I am as an entertainment source or a media source, and this is what I will always be, because this is what I am as a person. You know, the hits will come, you know, but I don't need to exploit anybody or exploit anything in order to get that. So I think there have been times in my career where, you know, I can remember sitting at my computer like, man, I could just type this on story up right now, and you know.
He'll go crazy, he'll go viral, he'll do this and that.
But I can't do that.
Yeah.
You know, I could, but I can't. You know what I mean? Like, that ain't who I am. That's super childish. You know what I mean? Like, the moment I think it, there's another side of my brain that's like, girl, that's super childish. You know what I mean? Like, why would you, you know, neglect someone's